According to publicly available reports, the son of one of Hollywood's most recognizable filmmakers is due back in court, and the case raises difficult questions that still don't have clear answers. Without jumping to conclusions and without sensationalism, this is what is known so far, what remains unclear, and why this story has unsettled an industry that rarely pauses. There is one detail from the night before the tragedy that keeps appearing in reports, yet its true significance remains unknown. Based on court records and media reporting, Nick Reiner, 32, is expected to appear in a Los Angeles courtroom in connection with the deaths of his parents, filmmaker Rob Reiner and photographer-producer Michelle Reiner. A previous court appearance was delayed at the request of the defense, which cited what it described as complex and serious issues, requiring additional time. It is important to state clearly, all information at this stage comes from publicly reported sources, and the legal process is ongoing. Nick Reiner is expected to enter a not guilty plea, and under U.S. law, every defendant is presumed innocent unless proven otherwise in court. Why has this case drawn such intense attention, even by Hollywood standards? Part of the answer lies in the public profile of the family. Rob Reiner's career spans decades, from his early television work to directing films that became cultural landmarks. His influence extended beyond entertainment into public life, which meant that news involving his family quickly resonated far beyond Los Angeles. According to reports, the couple was found deceased inside their West Los Angeles home. Authorities have released limited information about the circumstances, stating only that an investigation is ongoing. The lack of official detail has led to widespread speculation, and at the same time, underscored the need for caution and restraint when discussing the case. But there is another layer to this story that often receives less attention. Nick Reiner has previously spoken publicly about years-long struggles with substance use and periods of instability earlier in his life. Those experiences were later reflected in a film project he worked on with his father, offering a rare public glimpse into a complicated family dynamic. For many observers, this context highlights that the case involves not only criminal allegations, but also a deeply personal and human background. Media reports have also noted that the family attended a social gathering the night before the deaths, after which an argument was reportedly observed. Authorities, however, have not confirmed the nature or relevance of that event, and no official conclusions have been drawn about its role, if any. And then there is the legal reality that shapes how this case could ultimately unfold. If a conviction were to occur, California law allows for severe penalties. At the same time, the state has not carried out an execution in many years, and an official moratorium remains in place. That legal backdrop adds yet another layer of complexity to an already difficult case. Taken together, these elements form a situation that is legally, emotionally, and socially complex, with many questions still unanswered and no simple narrative to rely on as news of the case spread. Reactions across Hollywood and beyond were swift but measured. Many figures who had worked with Rob Reiner over the years shared expressions of shock and sympathy, focusing on his professional legacy rather than the details of the allegations. The dominant tone across these responses has been one of restraint, with few public figures speculating about the case itself. Why has the industry responded with such caution? Part of the reason is the legal sensitivity surrounding an active court proceeding. In high-profile cases like this, public statements can quickly be misinterpreted or amplified, potentially affecting both public perception and, indirectly, the legal process. As a result, most commentary has centered on acknowledging the loss and emphasizing respect for due process. Another factor is the timing. According to public statements, the deaths occurred just hours before a planned private gathering involving prominent political figures. While this detail has appeared in multiple reports, it has not been linked by authorities to the events under investigation. Still, its proximity in time has added to the public's sense that the situation unfolded with startling suddenness. But beyond headlines, what does this case reveal about the pressures faced by families in the public eye? Families connected to high-profile careers often experience intense scrutiny, even in private matters. In this situation, details about Nick Reiner's past struggles, his living arrangements, and his relationship with his parents quickly became part of the public narrative. Legal experts frequently caution that such background information can provide context, but should not be mistaken for evidence. The defense has so far remained largely silent, offering no detailed public explanation for the earlier request to delay the arraignment. In court, the defense referred only to the seriousness and complexity of the issues involved. That lack of detail has fueled curiosity, but it is also consistent with a strategy of addressing key arguments within the courtroom rather than through media statements. This leads to a larger question many viewers are asking: what happens next? Procedurally, the next phase involves formal pleas, preliminary hearings, and potential motions from both sides. These steps can take months, or even longer, especially in cases involving extensive evidence review and high public interest. During this time, judges often work to limit pretrial publicity that could influence potential jurors. Meanwhile, prosecutors have indicated that they have not yet made final decisions regarding sentencing strategies, should the case move forward. That statement alone signals that the process remains in an early stage, despite the volume of attention it has already received. And beyond the courtroom, there is the question of legacy. Rob Reiner's body of work continues to be widely viewed and discussed, independent of the case itself. Industry observers note that situations like this often force a difficult separation between an artist's professional contributions and deeply personal family events. For many audiences, that separation is uncomfortable but necessary. Beyond the immediate legal proceedings, this case has sparked broader conversations about how society processes tragedy when it intersects with fame. When public figures are involved, even unconfirmed details can quickly become part of the narrative, shaping opinions long before a court reaches any conclusions. So how should stories like this be approached responsibly? Media analysts often point out that high-profile cases test the balance between public interest and personal dignity. In this situation, authorities have released only limited verified information, and that restraint is intentional. It helps preserve the integrity of the investigation and reinforces the principle that courtrooms, not headlines, are where facts are ultimately determined. There is also a wider discussion taking place about mental health, addiction, and family dynamics, particularly when these issues unfold under public scrutiny. While Nick Reiner has previously spoken about personal struggles, experts consistently emphasize that such factors require careful, nuanced understanding and should never be reduced to simplistic explanations. Another question remains quietly present: what does closure look like in a case like this? For the legal system, closure comes through due process and a verdict reached according to law. For the public, it often comes through understanding, recognizing the limits of what can be known at any given moment, and resisting the urge to fill in gaps with speculation. As the case moves forward, additional hearings are expected to clarify timelines, evidence, and legal arguments. Until then, much of the story remains unresolved, with key questions still awaiting formal answers. Ultimately, this case is a reminder that even the most familiar names can be touched by profoundly complex and painful circumstances. It underscores the importance of patience, restraint, and respect for the legal process, especially when emotions and public attention run high. In the next video, we'll take a closer look at how high-profile court cases are managed behind the scenes, and why delays, sealed documents, and limited statements are often deliberate choices rather than signs of uncertainty. If you want to follow this story with context rather than speculation, that deeper breakdown is coming next.